Las calles
The streets
eran literalmente
were literally rivers of water.
There were mudslides all over the place.
No había ni una.
They were all gone. I said to myself, oh my God, what happened here?
I was screaming and crying. I was like, oh my God, you cannot take them away from me.
tenía miedo yo.
I was afraid.
Yo creo que todos teníamos.
We were all
No
afraid.
sabíamos lo que
We didn't know what we were going to find.
From the Weather Channel, this is Storm Stories with meteorologist Jim Cantori.
October 4th, 1999. A tropical depression forces moist air over Mexico's Sierra Madre Oriental Mountains. This brings massive rainfall northeast of Mexico City. 120 miles from this capital city, the working-class community of Teziutlán is plagued with flooding.
el caudal del río
The height of the river kept growing
y crecía porque el agua no paraba.
because the rain wouldn't stop.
Además, como estamos en una falda
Since we were in the bottom of a
de
valley,
un cerro, toda el agua que
all the
bajaba
water would just come down
y se
and
nos
invade everything.
juntaba y invadía con todo.
Teziutlán's mayor Jose Sanchez knows the terrain acts like a sponge, absorbing large amounts of water. The mountainsides become unstable. Trees and shrubbery help hold them up, but recent deforestation adds to the danger. An influx of low-paid factory workers has forced many to build here, where land is cheap and prone to flooding. Sanchez orders an evacuation.
Empezamos a visitar los lugares más
We started
peligrosos
to visit the places that
y a
were high
decirles
risk
de que era necesario
and tell them that it was necessary to bring them to safer places.
Police Chief Amadeo Andrade takes charge of the mission. But some, like this elderly man, refuse to leave.
Y le daba risa, decía
He
que
laughed
no.
at us and said he did not want to go.
Lo llevamos al albergue.
We took him to
Al otro
shelter.
día el señor se nos
The next day,
escapó del
he escaped
albergue
to check on
y
his
natural
house,
fue a buscar su casa,
which was
y ya no estaba.
all gone.
While thousands head for shelters, others on the outskirts of town stay in their homes. Alvina Castellano lives there with her mother, two sisters, and her 2-year-old daughter. The 26-year-old single mom helped build her family's house in an area they thought was protected from flooding.
Se hizo lo que es el libramiento, pues echaron tierra para el terreno. Pues
We
poco a
built the
poco
house
igual
with an
había mucho
elevated
terreno,
foundation, and there was much
pero
land in
nunca
front of it.
Creímos que
We never thought
eso
we
iba
could
a
be in
traer
danger.
desgracias.
October 5th, 1999. The rain continues a second day. Around 7:30 a.m., Alvina leaves for her job in a nearby textile factory. Her younger sisters, Mari and Guadalupe, share the walk to work and school. The girl's mother, 56-year-old Inez, stays home to care for Alvina's 2-year-old daughter, Ceci.
My daughter, who goes to school, came home first. Class was canceled, and then my other daughter, Guadalupe, was sent home from work because there was no electricity.
The storm also closes the factory where Alvina works. She starts to walk home until floodwaters block her way. The city is crumbling around her.
No había paso.
I couldn't get through. I felt uncomfortable. I wanted to be there. I wanted to see what was happening.
Inez waits for Alvina at home.
All of a sudden, I heard something like thunder, and the house shook.
A massive slice of mountain breaks loose. It tumbles downhill and slams into the Casiano home.
My daughters fell by my feet, and I was completely covered in mud. They didn't even get a chance to scream.
Inez can no longer see her two youngest daughters and granddaughter. The mud has buried Inez up to her chest.
I was very conscious of everything going on. I kept screaming for help, and there was no one.
Neighbors call police. Chief Amadeo Andrade and his team race toward the devastated neighborhood. But they can't drive down the mountain. All the roads are covered with mud. The officers abandon their vehicles and cut their way into the valley.
Abrimos una brecha con machete.
We clear a little trail with machetes, so we can reach the first house that was buried.
Se había tapado.
It's the Casiano's house. Inside, the men find Inez in a front room pinned by mud and debris.
We could only see her face and her shoulders, so we started digging with the few tools we had.
Andrade and his men extricate the terrified woman from the muck and place her on a stretcher.
She was telling us that her daughters were inside the house, so we went in and began to look for the girls.
I was telling them where they were. I thought that my granddaughter was also dead because she was not crying.
Inez watches in horror as the crew unearths the bodies of Guadalupe and Mari.
I was crying because of my daughters. I knew that they were dead.
Inez's 2-year-old grandchild, Ceci, is still missing. The search is interrupted when police get word of another mudslide 2 miles north. Part of a cemetery has collapsed onto 70 houses. 400 occupants may now be buried. But Inez pleads with the officers to stay and find her granddaughter.
She kept insisting to us there was another child that was still there.
Chief Andrade is torn between wanting to find the missing child and heading across town to help more victims.
I was very worried about the situation in the other place, and I felt like we should leave because, more than likely, the child was dead.
Meanwhile, Alvina, the girl's mother, walks into her devastated neighborhood. She has no idea her family has been buried by a mudslide until a neighbor stops her on the street.
He hugged me, and he said, "I'm sorry." And I asked him why. Because he said, "I went to your house and we took the bodies out." I was going crazy. I was screaming and crying. I was like, "Oh my God, you cannot take them away from me."
While Alvina sprints the last few blocks to her home, Chief Andrade hears a muffled voice coming from inside the house.
We heard the child cry. We were excited and began digging more rapidly.
2-year-old Ceci is wrapped in her blanket, wedged between the sofa and a cement pillar.
She was very yellow when they pulled her out. She was already suffocating. Many people arrived to help bring us out.
Inez and Ceci are carried to a waiting ambulance. Just then, Alvina reaches her house.
They opened the doors of the ambulance. I recognized the blankets and looked inside. It was my daughter. She was full of dirt and very pale, but she was alive.
Chief Andrade and his men leave the recovery effort in the hands of volunteers. They depart for the other disaster zone.
Un promedio como de 70, 80 casas
There were 70 to 80 new houses.
de construcciones nuevas no existían.
They were all gone. And I said to myself,
Y dije, Dios mío, ¿y aquí qué pasó?
oh my God, what happened here?
"21 people are confirmed dead in Teziutlán, Mexico from the mudslides.
Estaba inactivo el pueblo.
The city was shut down.
Días laborables.
On a normal workday, there is usually 1 or 2 people in a home, but these houses were filled up with families.
Esto
And
hizo que la
this made the tragedy even bigger.
fuera más grande.
My sister lived here in this zone and her house disappeared completely. My relatives are all buried.
Local television journalist Marco Antonio Vasquez covers the chaos for news station Televisa.
Everybody was running. There was a collective hysteria. There were ambulances. The neighbors were trying to rescue people.
Marco and his crew are torn between covering the story and helping with the search for survivors.
I was feeling helpless, powerless. I couldn't detach myself from the pain of these people. We wanted to help more than to film. We couldn't approach because it was very dangerous.
I still have 14 family members buried.
The only way we could help our people was reporting as honest and clear as we could.
Marco documents stories he hopes will get military assistance from the nearest big city, Puebla. Police Chief Amadeo Andrade joins the rescue effort. Volunteers use sticks, machetes, and shovels to unearth survivors. But they uncover more of the dead.
Por dentro mi verdad era de que
I knew that many of those people, after hours buried under tons of mud, it would be impossible they were alive. I thought that it would be a miracle if anybody survived.
By 4 p.m., the search and rescue mission has become a recovery operation.
We find ourselves in one of the most critically affected areas caused by intense rains in Teziutlán.
Then, in the middle of Marco's taping, something remarkable happens.
Look over there. It's a hand. A hand! Yes, it is a person.
Rushing waters have uncovered a woman trapped under the mud. She is clinging to life.
We cannot explain how she did survive. She may have been trapped 3 or 4 hours.
The survivor is revived and transported for medical attention. Later, another woman is found alive.
She was completely covered in mud, her face, her hair, everything. The only thing that she was worried about was her family, and some guy told her they're okay, they're okay.
This hillside neighborhood has suffered the most casualties. 90 people are dead. Many others remain missing. The mudslides have destroyed most of the roads in and out of Teziutlán, and the rain continues falling. More slides threaten the region, but that's not the worst of it.
This bridge was the only crossing we have, so our fear is that we are and will remain totally isolated.
Now local authorities face a new problem. The city is cut off from outside help.
Look, we are in alert all the time. We have come to our capacity in terms of what we can offer. We only hope that the weather gets better.
The mayor is desperate for assistance from Mexico's federal government.
Nosotros implementamos un estado.
We were in a state of alert. My whole administration was aware of what was happening.
Quedaron en activo.
The police was working 24 hours.
After 3 straight days, the rain finally lets up, and some much-needed help arrives. Mexican military helicopters fly in personnel and supplies to the isolated city.
En las que colaboró el ejército con nosotros.
The army helped us clear the roads.
Fue con restaurar servicios,
get services back up,
trabajar la infraestructura
and restore the infrastructure that was lost because of the storm.
Con la tormenta.
By Saturday, October 9th, the magnitude of the disaster is clear. At least 100 people are dead and dozens are missing. Thousands more remain homeless.
Teziutlán olía a muerte.
Teziutlán smelled like death.
El rostro.
You can see the look of pain in the faces of the people.
De dolor. Teníamos miedo.
We were afraid epidemics could cause more loss of life.
Que acabará con más vidas.
Across southeastern Mexico, scores of mudslides have left more than 400 dead. 104 of those are from Teziutlán. For months, residents and authorities worked to rebuild their community.
El dolor nos hermanó.
The pain united us.
Nos vino a dar
we all gathered together to help.
Esa fuerza y esa
this is what gave us the strength, the ability to face these horrific scenes that I cannot even describe.
Inenarrables.
Teziutlán's police chief Amadeo Andrade has befriended the surviving members of the Casiano family. He helped rescue 2-year-old Ceci from the mud.
I'm very glad and thankful to God we were able to get the child out.
6 years after her survival, 8-year-old Ceci doesn't remember anything about her ordeal.
It was a miracle that she didn't get any injuries.
Mother, daughter, and grandmother live in a house built by the Mexican federal government for victims of the mudslides. All that remains of their former house is a painful memory.
If we pass by the area, I just close my eyes and look to another side. Because if I go there, I just cry.
A memorial now stands in town to honor all 104 victims. 2 of them, Mari and Guadalupe Casiano.
My sisters were very good. They were very loving and caring.
son las heridas que llevamos,
We are scarred from that tragedy,
las heridas
and we will have to live with those scars forever.
que nos dejó a nosotros también marcados
And it left us traumatized by how dangerous nature can be.
que es la fuerza de la naturaleza.
What precautions have been made in Teziutlán, Mexico since the mudslides? We'll tell you when Storm Stories continues. What precautions have been made in Teziutlán, Mexico since the mudslides? 1 year after the disaster, the Castellanos are among hundreds of families that moved to new government-constructed neighborhoods in so-called mudslide-safe parts of town. The local government is currently working to implement mandatory building permits in safe neighborhoods. But most of the transient factory workers can only afford to live and build in unsafe areas. For Storm Stories, I'm meteorologist Jim Cantori. Your local forecast is next.